see the way they hate. And I know better than to listen to the people who are calling us slaves. I can feel the sunlight shining.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Brian, and today is Friday, March 15th, 2024, and this is episode 655 of the Lots Project podcast, and it's titled, Ides Saw It on TikTok, Down the Rabbit Hole edition. I will be chatting about, old Trump and Back to the Future and JFK, and man, it's an earthquake here. We got itchy dogs. We got wet dogs. Sorry about that. I wrote the show notes early yesterday. I went down some rabbit holes in the afternoon, and we might end up getting to what I put in the show notes as far as sexual blackmail and the Bushes, but we will see. I have more important things before I get to that. Anyway, let's check out who's hanging out in the live chat, who's hanging around in the coffee crew. We'll grab a cup and hang out for about an hour. Good morning. Morning, Rewilder Life. Off to work. Jen G, how we doing? Did we miss yesterday, Jen? Did we miss you yesterday? Chris Dixon, good morning. And Pip doing hard work, forklifting cars out of the way, doing Superman things, and having an awesome Friday morning, I'm sure. Whew. It's Friday, guys. It's Friday. I got a new bag of beans. I opened up, just cut the tab off the bag and brewed up some light Colombian, Hector, the light Colombian. And man, Hector is good in the cup for sure. Still a little warm. Still a little warm. Oh, good morning, Pickle Pete. How we doing? Just talking about Hector, the light Colombian. Just opened a brand new bag this morning, and it is tasting great. Like I've said many times before, when you open that new bag, especially from Food Forest Farms and the C4 Club, even if it sat there for a week in that triple, or I think it's triple, maybe 5X lined bag. I think it's a triple line bag, right, Brian? Believe it's triple line bag. It stays fresh. And as soon as you put it in that French press and that water touches it, the bloom explodes, because you can tell it is the freshest coffee you're going to get. And man, it is so good. And I love opening those brand new bags. Just overflows outside the 4-layer. I said 3. I said maybe 5. It is actually a 4-layer barrier somewhere in the middle. Always in the middle. Chris Dixon says, after so many different formulations, Hector feels good in the hole. Hector's good at plowing holes for coffee beans, for coffee plants, trees. Yeah. Anyway, here we go. It is Friday. It is the Ides of March. Beware of the Ides of March. I don't know if you know what the Ides of March is, but if you saw the title of the show, did a little play there with the Ides of March. 15th of March was the day that Julius Caesar was unceremoniously removed from his position in Rome. If you don't know the story, look it up. And if you don't know what the Ides is, normally the 13th of the month, but on special months, it is the 15th, and March is one of those months. So happy Ides of March, everyone. Friday the 15th, the Ides of March. Pickle Pete says, let Hector warm you from the inside. Oh, so how did the week go? The week on TikTok. Soundays, I think, are going to become I saw it on TikTok episode for sure. I start getting them as soon as I open the app after the show today. So I will take a break sometime after the dog walks this morning. I will sit down and open up TikTok. And because I've been watching all these, doing this research for you folks, it's all your fault. I continue to get more and more and more conspiracy theories is how they're trying to label them. I don't know about that. We will see. Good morning, Hunter, over on Twitch. Thanks for stopping in. And let me remember here to pick up the Noster stream. Missed a comment from Albie and Hunter yesterday. Sorry, guys. Hopefully you're listening again, and we'll see you if you comment today. Anyway, conspiracy theories. Yeah. And let's talk about TikTok for a moment real quick. It looks like somebody wanted to buy it. Weird. Lots of let's see, religious slurs flying around with the possible purchase of TikTok. I don't care anyway. I don't think that people are. I don't think that people are trying to take over the world, one specific type of people. But man, I just saw something with links from all sorts of directions on who is trying to buy TikTok. Might be next week's episode. Ray Wilder Life says, you're missing Jim. I'm also missing Jim. I am also missing Jim. You know, like when a guy loses his wife after he's a wife beater and then she's gone and he just is sad. He's sad because he doesn't have his wife anymore. I miss Jim. I'm going to have to reach out to Jim today. Make sure he is doing all right. Maybe the time change got him. Damn time change. Anyway, hopefully TikTok sticks around and it stays as fruitful as it's been lately, because I started earlier in the week. I got down a path of the stuff that I put in the show notes. But then last night it was pie day. It was pizza pie day. It was pie night. And I indulged in some TikTok, and I found some stuff, guys. Found some stuff that might make you wonder what's going on in this world. So let's get to it. And I promise they'll all kind of circle together. That's why I put them up front. Number one on my list here is an old one, an oldie but a goodie. This one goes back to a president's death, John F. Kennedy, when he was shot. All of a sudden, that's back in my TikTok feed, and I'm wondering if it's because we're gonna go full circle here in a few minutes, and just bear with it. TikTok explaining. Gen G says conspiracy theory. What a crappy label. Of course, the label was coined by the CIA, so there's that. Yeah, we don't really worry about terms around here. It is what it is. It's history, in my opinion. Sometimes. Anyway, TikTok pops up, and it is an interview with a lady. And this is probably old news. Like, this is probably a rehash thing that's coming up. That shade in the back behind me. I don't know if you can see it, guys. Let me see. I can't get out of the way. It's all crooked because we had the windows open yesterday because it was so nice out, and the shade is crooked. It's driving me nuts behind me. So at some point I might actually have to get up and fix it. But anyway, TikTok pops up, and it's a woman. She's talking about an experience she had with someone that claims to have doctored the JFK assassination tape. The ones that you see on the news, the ones where you see him riding in the Cadillac and all of a sudden he's got less matter to his head and he's laying down and his wife is Chris Dixon says, it's driving you nuts. I was holding my phone skewed to make it straight. Dude, there's nothing making nobody straight in this live stream, especially if Kyle shows up. Anyway, she's talking to this dude. You know, the iconic, we've all seen the video with he's driving along, and he's riding in the back of the car, and then was it one gunman? Was it two gunmen? Was there somebody on the grassy knoll? She says no. She says that the video that we've seen for years and years and years and years and years is not the real video, that video has been doctored and put out. She talked to the man that doctored it, and he said the video that actually happened, there was a gentleman driving the vehicle, and he goes like this. He didn't fix the shade. He might have pulled out a little firearm and shot the president from the front. Huh. Wait. So this guy just coming out of nowhere saying that he doctored a tape that then has been broadcast forever of the assassination of a sitting U.S. president. What proof does she have? A floating tree. A floating tree. Rewilder Life says RFK Jr. talks about this on his podcast. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting because I don't neither listen to podcasts or politicians. I'm glad you brought that up though, because I was like, I don't necessarily, what did he say about it? Rachel, was he on board with this? Not the fake tape, but the series. Okay. Yeah, so she shows the slow motion of the video that everybody's seen, and it appears that there may be a floating tree. And now I haven't dug up the video, the popular video, the real story video of what happened. I haven't dug that deep into it because I went down further down the rabbit hole. But I will definitely be looking into watching the video, and it appears that behind him, Pip says Jack did a TSPC show on this a few weeks ago, didn't he? I don't know. Like I said, I don't listen to podcasts, guys. I honestly, I tell you guys I don't, and I really don't. I don't. I can't. I don't have the time nor the energy or wanting to sound like anybody else, but I guess it does happen. Rewilder Life says he doesn't believe the narrative at all. I can't remember it all. The guy has a pair though, because he risked getting suicided daily. Yeah, I mean, there is that. So I saw that. It just kind of piqued an interest. So that was just like a little icebreaker there. That just piqued the interest a little bit. The next video was the one that kind of started tripping me out a little bit. So a couple weeks ago, we talked about, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Okay, you guys said Jack did an episode on that the other day. What did they come to the conclusion that was fake news? Fake news? Or why is that circling back now? Is that because RFK Jr. is running? I don't know why that would randomly pop up. But anyway, the next story was the one that really interested me because it kind of tied back to Trump and his time travel when we talked about the book about Baron Trump and his miraculous adventure in Russia. And we theorized that Donald Trump was a time traveler. Well, the same gentleman that rolled that theory about the book, he's got a huge evidence board that he talks about. And so he popped up on my stuff again. And it turned out that he went down the Back to the Future rabbit hole. Now, time travel and Back to the Future kind of go hand in hand. Mike's home says the Secret Service was all drunk and hungover. Weird. Government being government. So Back to the Future, spinning that into time travel isn't real hard. I mean, obviously, that's the whole premise of the series. He travels time back and then back to the future. That's how they got the name, because he goes back to the future, trying to get back to the future. So let's see. There were several there were several things in the Back to the Future movies that he was pointing out. And I watched the movie, like this was in my wheelhouse when I was growing up. So Back to the Future came out in the mid 80s. That was right when, that was my coming of age time, 80s, early 90s, 90s. So I remember this was all coming out right in the time period where I was into movies and watching this stuff. So some of these things, I don't think I hadn't heard any of these particular ones. Actually, I had heard a little bit. Mike's Homestead said one of the drunk hungover Secret Service agents shot him and they covered it up. What Jack mentioned. I mean, it wouldn't it wouldn't blow my mind. I don't know if I've been that hungover that I shot the president on accident. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever really know what happened. At this point, people are dying too fast that no one will. Even if somebody is on their deathbed and they bring it out, you're just going to be like, okay. But anyway, Back to the Future. So I'm going to walk you through a few things in the movie here, and I don't know how well you remember it, if it's one of your favorite movies, if you kind of remember the storyline. But this is from Back to the Future 1, where Marty goes back to the 50s, and Rewilder Life says, I'm in camp, it was no accident. There's no way that JFK being shot was an accident. I read a couple books way back, way back in high school, I think, that showed the ties between the Italian organization that's known for maybe whacking people. Yeah, that tie to the JFK assassination was an interesting one. So if you ever want to explore some interesting theories, you can go down that one. But that's not what this is about. Back to the Future. Back to the Future. So Marty goes back in the first one, and he goes back to before everything was kind of built up in town. It's just a development. And when he goes back, the development that they were building, if you recall, was called Twin Pines Development. 2 pine trees. Marty runs into one, knocks it down. No big deal. When he goes back to the future, there's a mall in Back to the Future back in 1985, I believe was the year. When he gets back there, now the mall that is located where the housing development was is now called Lone Pine Mall. Pip, right on cue, Lone Pine Mall. Well, I mean, that makes sense, right? Because Marty went back and it used to be Twin Pines and Marty knocked one down and now it's Lone Pine. So when they redeveloped the area into the mall, they named the mall Lone Pine because it's the only one there, right? That makes sense. Like, why are you talking about this, Brian? I don't know. Is this a conspiracy? Do you guys remember in Back to the Future when you remember Back to the Future when there was the terrorists, when Doc and Marty were in the mall parking lot, and Marty sees the terrorists and he goes and he has to get back to the future and he has to go back early and save Doc from being shot by the terrorists. Remember that stuff? The terrorist attack happened when they escaped at a very odd time. A very, very odd time. Now, you got to remember this was made in the 80s. This isn't made in... Pip says that was the first view of an AK on a PG movie. Interesting. They were worried about AKs at that time. There was a very interesting time in that movie when they narrowly escaped the terrorist attack. happened to be at 9:11 p.m. 9/11. That rings a bell. That rings a bell. Whatever would we ever think of at 9/11? I mean, really? 9/11 in a place that used to be Twin Pines? Now it's Lone Pine? At 9/11? I didn't connect the dots. I'm not digging. I am not. Everybody rolls to Back to the Future to fast forwards to the terrorist attack to look what time it is. There was another, let me see. There were two more striking coincidences from Back to the Future. The next one was the Hill Valley Mall, the Lone Pine Mall, where they, Hill Valley, where they set up the experiment, where they had to harvest the lightning, the clock tower, that whole area. Gen G says predictive programming. Maybe. The area where they were setting up with the clock and the experiment to get the lightning strike, because they knew exactly when the lightning was going to strike, and they get the gigawatts that they need, the gigawatts, and all the energy they need to get back to the future. If you look at the plans that they use when Doc is showing Marty how it's all going to go down, if you take the map of the Hill Valley Square, and then you look at another famous map that we might have mentioned a few minutes ago, an area we mentioned a few minutes ago. You ever heard of Dealey Plaza? If you guys been talking about JFK on other podcasts and stuff, you probably know what Dealey Plaza is. Dealey Plaza, where JFK was shot. Now, from this man's assertion, the map of Dealey Plaza and the map of Hill Valley look eerily similar. But more than that, the spot at which JFK was plugged is the spot where the lightning strikes on the map. Guys, I'm just hearing this on TikTok. I don't necessarily believe any, all, or part, or maybe all of this. I don't know. It's just stuff to think about, stuff to ponder on your Friday, stuff to stick in your head for that Friday afternoon when you don't want to be at work and all you got to do is think about stuff. You can plan your weekend around Back to the Future. So there you go. Now, if that isn't weird enough, that it was like maybe a mock-up, maybe the guy, maybe the set director, maybe someone in the crew, maybe, who knows, might have been a fan of all the JFK stuff. Maybe that's just a coincidence. But it'd be a big coincidence that Back to the Future 3, there were more than one. I believe the third one was that when he went to the Wild West. It got pretty shady after that. Hunter says, this is for entertainment purposes only. It is. It's definitely entertainment because I didn't verify any of this shit, guys. I really didn't. I'm not gonna lie to you. I saw it on TikTok and put it in my notes and thought we could talk about it. So if my agent and my handler are listening, this is not admission of belief in any of this stuff that I'm talking about. It's just stuff I saw on the interwebs. So Hill Valley looks eerily like Dealey Plaza. The lightning strikes right where JFK got plugged. Back to the Future 3, where he went to the Wild Wild West. Its release date. It was released on the anniversary of JFK shooting. How does it all happen? Can it be coincidence? Can it be coincidence that Back to the Future 3 ends up being released out of 364, possibly 365 or 366 Corey, how many days are in a year? Okay, yeah, it might have been 365. Out of all those days, what are the odds? 1 in 365 that it gets released on the anniversary of JFK being shot after they model the town in the movie after the place where the event happened, that it was released on the freaking anniversary. Guys, you're serious? All right. Pickle P says it's a 0.3% chance. Thanks. Okay, so that's Back to the Future. Now, the guy that got me going down the time travel hole, the whole Trump time travel hole, and now this Back to the Future hole, he was talking about something else. He was talking about President Trump again with some time travel. And he believes that Trump is definitely involved in time travel. This guy is like absolutely convinced of it. He was the one that you were lucky that I found. Now I'm whole traveling. He is definitely convinced that Donald Trump has the ability to travel time. He talks about the Baron Trump, the wonderful adventures of Baron Trump, or whatever, whatever that was. Pip says Biff looks like Donald Trump. Future Biff or old Biff? So he gets going down the Trump train again about trying to prove that Donald Trump has the ability to time travel. He talks about the book, he talks about The Last President, he talks about Pence and that whole deal, and Tesla. I talked about it, and it you know, to believe it is not unreasonable. Maybe. I don't know what's reasonable anymore. But anyway, he wanted to add a little bit more of a cementing factor that Donald Trump is definitely a time traveler. So he pulls this one out, and I was like, huh, interesting. This little ditty coming up is going to prove one of two things, and we'll talk about which of the two things that it might prove after I tell you. But he was talking about, do you guys remember Anthony Weiner? Old Anthony Weiner. That guy that likes to send messages to little girls on the internet. Were they little girls or little boys? I'm pretty sure Anthony Weiner was into little girls. And he was sending them pictures of himself in bed. And Anthony Weiner had this really weird tie to Uma Aberdeen, and Uma Aberdeen was Hillary's personal assistant. Remember all that incestual bullshit that went on? And Hillary was I think she was Secretary of State at the time. Tidy whitey politician, yeah, Anthony Weiner. I think my favorite thing about Anthony Weiner was it happened right at the right time, where Eric Holder was the Attorney General, and they were gonna try to get he was a representative, Jen, I believe, or maybe he was a senator. Was he a senator? Was he a state senator in New York? He was from New York. He was a scumbag. But anyway, my favorite were the campaign pictures that they said that Eric Holder and him should have run for president, vice president, and the campaign could have been vote for Wiener Holder. Miss Hillary, who is Benghazi. Yeah, who is that Ben guy, that Benghazi guy? I hear all sorts of stuff about him. Anyway, back to the Wienergate. Anthony Weiner, who was the toe tapper, Wiener holder. So back to Wienergate. So back in 2011, this is rolling back, so 13 years ago, Donald Trump was interviewed in 2011, and he's talking about watching the news. Now, this has to be back before he had aspirations of being president. Well, maybe not aspirations, but he wasn't involved in running for president or any of this shit yet. Right? 2024, 2020, 2016. Well, maybe. It might have been getting close. I don't remember. I don't care enough. But anyway, Trump was interviewed during the whole Anthony Weiner stuff, and it was dubbed Wienergate. And in the audio clip, it said something about he was getting caught up between watching Wienergate and Pizzagate. Now, I don't know if you remember what Pizzagate was. So we got Wienergate, we got Pizzagate, we got the backyard gate, we got the front yard gate, we have all the gates. But Pizzagate, if you don't recall, was a fake news story set up by QAnon or some white supremacist. I don't know. I tried to read about Pizzagate again, and it made me want to throw up in my mouth because it was so PC ridden with white supremacists and blah 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 blah. It was obvious who wrote the wiki on that one. But anyway, Pizzagate was this whole weird thing that rolled out of Uma Aberdeen's. It was either Wiener's or Aberdeen's laptop, and they got a bunch of John Podesta's emails, they got a bunch of Hillary's emails, they got a bunch of all these ranking officials. And this story kind of spun out about a pedophilia ring being run under the cover of a pizza place in Washington, D.C. Comet, was it Comet Hop Pizza or something? Pip says, wasn't Pizzagate a bunch of Dems involved in child trafficking? Don't recall. Close. Child trafficking, satanic rituals performed by pedophiles and harvesting like adrenal glands or something. I don't know. There was all sorts of stuff. Yes, Pip. Mostly Democrats in the story. But yes, Pizzagate was this weird attempt to, I mean, hindsight is 2020. Like, maybe it wasn't such a big conspiracy theory, Epstein, and child trafficking and all that stuff. But basically, yes, pedos, whether it's true or not, pedos using a pizza parlor as the front to do things. This all spun out of whether it was actually in the emails or someone just said it was. There's all this back and forth whether the emails actually said this or if somebody just made it up. Somebody admitted to making it up, guys. So that definitely doesn't mean that they were covering anything up. So anyway, out of Wienergate came Pizzagate. Now, the problem with this, and the reason the guy said that Trump is definitely, this is another reason why he is a time traveler. And I have another suspicion, but they said that he mentions Pizzagate in 2011 when talking about Wienergate and Anthony Weiner. The only problem with this is Pizzagate didn't happen until 2016. Now, obviously, the emails were probably there and this and that and the other thing, but the name really wasn't coined until 2016. How did Donald Trump know about Pizzagate in 2011 when it didn't even exist until 2016? Other than if maybe, just maybe, about it. You ever see those pictures of old Donnie Trump and Hillary? Donnie Trump and old Billy Clinton, Donald Trump and Epstein, Donald Trump and Donald Trump. And I mean, if you think he's the savior of the country, and right on for you, MAGA all the way, beat Sniffy Joe or whatever the cry is going to be this year. I don't necessarily always discount seeing people with other people and assuming that maybe they're with them for a reason. I don't know. You hang out with people that you want to do business with or associate with. Now, the fact that Pizzagate spun out from old Anthony Weiner, hey, hanging laundry, good morning. How are you doing? Pickle Pete says, Maffa, make America fun again. So, Donald Trump, guys, and just so you know, I'm putting this out here today. I have no intention of suicide. I have no suicidal thoughts whatsoever at this period in my life. I don't plan on shooting myself in the back of the head twice. I don't plan on hanging myself. I don't plan on any of that, just so you know. I want to come and share all more of this with you next week. So the fact that Pizzagate spun out of Anthony Weiner's laptop don't get scheduled to whistle blow. Yeah. People are disappearing left and right in the Boeing thing. Lots of depressed people in the Boeing family. The fact that Pizzagate and this whole pedophilia ring rolled out from Anthony Weiner's emails, Uma Aberdeen's involvement with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, and by proxy, Jeffrey Epstein. Like, it's not a denied fact that Jeffrey Epstein and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, they were all associates, whether that be business associates, political associates, favor friends, or maybe they were exchanging young kids to each other. Pickle Pete says 2 dudes got cuffed and stuffed this week off the shop floor at the Boeing facility out by him. He knows a lot of the folks that work there, guys. Hanging Laundry says her sibs are crazy bananas, anti-Trump and pro Sniffy man. Joe Sniffy Joe. But this weird connection, and then the fact that he's coming out with Pizzagate before Pizzagate was even a thing. I don't know. I might have to dig more into that one. That really actually piqued my interest. So there was that. So I don't know. I don't know where to go with that one. Another thing I saw on TikTok that I have to dive more into. This wasn't enough for you guys to fill your weekend. Let's talk about sexual blackmail. Oh, actually, before Brian mentioned yesterday, a couple of kids, and we just again here, a couple of guys that got cuffed and pulled off the floor at a place by officials. I gotta tell you guys, this reminded me of a story real quick about when I worked at a startup in Minnesota. We worked at a startup facility. We had a bunch of hiring sprees. We had a bunch of really interesting folks work there. We were kind of on the bottom of the barrel as far as the wage we could offer. The wage we could offer was kind of low. They offered a group of hourly employees a pretty good wage, but then they kind of blew their budget. And so the grunt labor, which really wasn't grunt labor, what we came to find out that you actually needed a brain in your head to do it. So we should have probably paid people more to do the job that we were asking them to do. Anyway, so you were kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, and unemployment at the time was pretty low. So all in all, we got some interesting people that worked there. I was very, very cordial with the majority of them, and got to know them pretty well. There was this Pickle Piece says, so they were moonlighting as bank robbers. No, weird. I had this friend, had this guy. You know that Minnesota is a hotbed for bringing Somalian refugees to settle them in Minnesota. We haven't really figured out why we would bring people from the hottest climate on the earth to one of the coldest climates in the United States, other than the flow of money. But we hired a few immigrants, spoke pretty good English. Like we required them to speak English because they had to talk on a radio. Speaking English was a relative term. I got to know the guy. We worked very closely. We worked long shifts. We worked a bunch of stuff. I taught him. I trained him a lot of stuff. So one day I'm sitting in the office with my plant manager, and into the parking lot rolls several black SUVs with blacked out windows, and we were like, huh, what's going on here? In walks a few gentlemen in suits and asks if we had seen this gentleman, and he holds up a picture of my friend that I had just trained and got to know pretty well. Hard worker. Dude, I swear to God, was probably one of the hardest workers there. They said, do you have this gentleman in the building? We're like, well, yeah, he kind of looks like the guy that's out there. He goes, do not call him on the radio. Just show us where he is. We're like, huh, okay. So we sat and we watched the security cameras as four gentlemen walked out, tapped him on the shoulder. He turned around and had a very surprised look on his face. They stripped him of his uniform down to his skivvies and his boots and paraded him through the factory, through the plant, out the front door and into one of the waiting SUVs. And away they went. And we never saw him again. What turns out to happen, my boss said, hey, you can't just take somebody from my facility without telling us why. And they said he was a terrorist. Yeah, I don't know if he was or not. I don't know. If he was, he was really good at telling the rest of his story. Other than that, I don't know. So that was my interaction with the black SUVs rolling up and people disappearing. So that was interesting. Anyway, let's move on to sexual blackmail. So have you guys seen that a music producer is suing Sean Combs If you don't know who Sean Combs is, he's also gone by Puff Daddy, P. Diddy. Are there Corey? Do you know any other names for Puff Daddy? I think that's it. He's not. It's a didn't he go by like Jesus or something? Or was that a different rapper that thought he was Jesus? I think it might have been Sean Combs. Anyway, a record producer or a producer was suing him because from what it sounds like, he is he's kind of demanding, and he may like some weird shit, and he may like to do a lot of illegal things. Weird. Power, money, fame, and schizophrenia does that to people. So anyway, what this guy's claiming is Sean Combs would force him to videotape sex acts. He would videotape and participate in sex acts. He has video upon video of them doing extremely illegal things. And so this isn't a big surprise. Like, this isn't a weird, like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. But the premise of what was going on, is sexual blackmail. Now, the guy that laid it out on TikTok did a very, very, very good job. And I'm going to hit the highlights of it because we got like 13 minutes left. And I think this dude's TikTok was 10 minutes and he just blew through the timeline of everything. So Sean Combs basically was taking the playbook of several famous people throughout history. So how this kind of works is, let's go back. So we have Jeffrey Epstein. Why was Jeffrey Epstein so powerful? You say it's because he had a lot of money. He had a lot of connections. No, he had dirt on everybody. Probably ended up causing him so much mental anguish that he might have hung himself in prison. Maybe. Oh, good morning, Mr. 944 over on Noster. If you're still there, thanks for dropping that message. I think that Jeffrey Epstein was probably so guilt-ridden with all the young girls that he trafficked and all the damage that he had done in his life that he probably became overwhelmed in that little cell and just had to end it all. Or maybe he had a shitload of dirt on a bunch of people that didn't want to become dirty, and he was shut up. This isn't the first time that this is the MO. We got to roll back. Does anybody know who Meyer Lansky is? You ever heard of Meyer Lansky? Pip says he recalled the painting of Bill Clinton in a dress hanging in the main room, or the one with George Bush playing with an airplane, sitting all like dummy. Yeah, that one. Oh, he had a bunch of interesting shit. I'm sure they didn't show you any of the stuff that was like actually damaging. But if you're a fan of old school mafia history, old school gangster history, you've probably heard the name Meyer Lansky. Meyer Lansky was a Jewish mafia boss back in the day, way back in the day. And what Meyer Lansky was famous for, other than being one of the most powerful men in the country without ever being elected or anything like that, was sexual blackmail. Basically, and this might not have started with him, this was the point which this man rolled back to. Basically, Meyer Lansky was in the business of catching and documenting people in compromising situations and then holding it against them. I mean, really, really mind-blowing stuff there. Like, how would you ever come up with this plan? It's brilliant. So it sounds from what I hear, and I think over the years you've heard the jokes, and I've heard them and never really put two and two together until the other day. You've heard jokes of Herbert Hoover and Herbert Hoover being a crossdresser, being gay, couldn't kind of let it go. He was the director of the CIA. He was director of the CIA before, or the FBI. Excuse me. Herbert Hoover was the director. The CIA was down a couple lines. Sorry, guys. The FBI, and also the FBI before it was the FBI, I believe. Could be getting my stories mixed up. They're all right next to each other. But anyway, Meyer Lansky got some dirt on Hoover and basically became untouchable. Basically, the mafia, this is all conjecture, guys. This is all stuff that I saw from a crazy dude on TikTok, and I'm just telling you about the entertainment I had this weekend. But basically, the stronghold of the mafia in the US and how they became so untouchable was mostly because they had dirt on people doing fucked up shit that they didn't want anybody to know about. So it turned out, it sounds as though Herbert Hoover, when caught with his pants down or his dress down or whatever Meyer Lansky had on him, said, well, I'm kind of boned as it is, so why not? Why not? And it appears that he might have spent decades throwing sex parties and documenting them, drugging people and documenting what they do when they were drugged, getting all their weird fetishes and proclivities on video, and then using it to pressure them and blackmail them. Hanging Laundry says modus operandi for anyone ascending to the upper echelons. The problem was these guys were already there. They were using it to play the pawns. Now this has been a pretty solid, effective motivator. Can't place the word. Sorry, guys. This has been their ploy for a long time. Obviously, going back into Hoover time and right through. But they believe that this is what he followed along. Epstein, Lansky, Meyer Lansky, Jeffrey Epstein might have learned from him. But this has been a thread tied through this whole country for that long. And if you look at the rise of Sean Combs, and this is where the guy really dug into how Sean Combs was taken from and you see it often in musicians, and I see it. One person I wonder and ask questions about is the Swift girl there. After seeing her when she was first starting out and seeing her now, and yeah, I have questions about that whole thing. But anyway, Sean Combs was a similar story. Sean Combs was really not that good at anything. He was an aspiring rapper and was kind of taken under his wing by a Jewish music producer that may have indulged some of Mr. Combs' proclivities and may have gotten some evidence on Mr. Combs. Then taking him under his wing and building an empire through this very willing participant that he now kind of controlled, and educating him on how to build his music empire by getting dirt on people. What is the most damaging thing that could possibly come out about a hardcore rapper? Maybe they're on the DL. Guys know what the DL is? The down low. Keep that on the DL. You know, There's an evolution of slang terms. Man, it is itchy day today. There's an evolution of slang terms, and it goes from the people that come up with it to the people that think it's cool to the old generation. And as it shifts through, as it kind of moves through the as it moves through the generation or through the cultures, and now it's like the old dude in the New Balances standing at the grocery store is like, hey, keep that on the down low. if you know where the term came from, it means means bro was sneaking over to other buddy's house at night and might have been interested in the hot dog more than the bun. But that's not gangster and that's not tough. So it's alleged that that Mr. Combs may be into other dudes, not completely, maybe part-time. Who cares? It really doesn't matter to me. They can do whatever they want. But man, public image says we can't have a hard gangster doing that. So maybe he might have invited friends over and drugged them. Maybe put them in situations with young girls or boys. Maybe put them into awkward situations doing highly illegal things. And he might have proof of it all. Weird. And then they did what he wanted. They made the music he wanted. They did the things that he wanted. They took care of people that he wanted. Just maybe. Now it sounds as though maybe Mr. Combs isn't cooperating. Maybe Mr. Combs decided that he wanted to go out on his own, and somebody is now bringing forth the hell that comes to you when you make a deal with the devil and then you decide you don't want to play with the devil anymore. Sean Combs has been protected from a lot of stuff over the years. If you don't recall, he was involved in a shooting with someone where he ended up getting acquitted and nothing, and the other dude that he was with got 10 years. Not like one got, he didn't cop a deal or anything. Maybe he did and it wasn't publicized. Maybe. Or maybe somebody owed him some favors, or somebody owed him some get out of free jail cards, or you never know. You never know. Just look at Mr. Combs' career and figure out what happened there. I don't know. Just stuff I saw on TikTok. I got one on the end of the list here that's going to have to wait for next week. I am going to probably make a whole episode out of it. I will continue to layer more and more stories that I happen across that we can just chat about, get your mind spinning, let your research do the walking. But this next one, I'm going to really dig in and get some dates and times and some more information about. It's going to be a week's worth of looking into Mr. Prescott Bush, George Sr., George Jr., Jeb, the CIA, Operation Paperclip, the Nazis, and all sorts of fun stuff. Because it got laid out, guys. It got laid out, and it got laid out thick. And I am interested to see if I can connect the dots like that gentleman did, because this is a big one. This is definitely a big one, and I'm excited to go down that rabbit hole. Other than that, we touched on JFK. We touched on the Back to the Future franchise. We talked about P. Diddy, Epstein, Trump, Anthony Weiner, Hillary, and Billy Clinton. Pickle Pete says paperclip is vast. Yes, it is. It is. Especially when you start talking about the Bushes. Like, how does George Bush Jr., how does the younger Bush end up president? Like, really? I guess we could say that for everybody. Like, how do they pick these people? Like, seriously, is Joe Biden and Donald Trump, are they seriously the best two people to run this country? I don't know. Rachel says Peter Santinello just did a paperclip video. May have gotten the spelling wrong. Paperclip is a rabbit hole in itself, and then you add in the bushes, and it is what it is. Pickle Pete says he's got a new single dropping today. Tune in, turn on, and enjoy your Friday. Yeah, it could be something that you might want to watch after work, maybe not before. Anyway, we're going to wrap up today, guys. I just had that list of stuff I wanted to mention to see if you guys want to follow those rabbit holes. If you do want to chat more about it, you can join the Telegram group at t.me/lots chat. Come on over, drop your thoughts on any of these things, and we can have fun with it. Beyond that, I'm going to wrap up for this week. We're going to get out of here. Corey and I are going to make it through this thunderstormy day and get to the weekend and have a bunch of productive time and get back to it next week. Other than that, I appreciate you guys listening. If you enjoyed the show, it's always free to hit that like, share, and subscribe. To return value for value, please consider joining one of the YouTube membership tiers or listening on any value for value platforms like Podverse or Fountain.fm. Visit thelotsproject.com to find out more information about me, my discount codes, affiliate partnerships, partner companies, our shop where we sell comfrey, mugs, t-shirts, and all sorts of other stuff at, like I said, thelotsproject.com. Other than that, guys, it's Friday. It has a beautiful ring to it. Friday morning, you are on your way down to the weekend, except Pip. He works over the weekend, and his weekend is later. Man, sorry about that, Pip. Other than that, you guys have a awesome rest of your Friday, and we will catch up with you on Monday.
I can see the light. I can feel the sun.